Cayman Islands, like other countries, is not immune to the ills of child abuse. A number of public cases which have come to light in recent years on these islands have shown this all too clearly. Without proper child safeguarding and protection measures, the potential for harm to children cannot be underestimated. As a nation, protecting our children is everyone's responsibility, and we have to ensure that the necessary programs and public awareness initiatives on child safeguarding reach all who work with children to eliminate all forms of child abuse. The Cayman Islands is working diligently to develop practices which will ensure that children are not placed at risk of harm and abuse, and that any concerns or suspicions about children's safety are reported to the appropriate authorities. In July 2012, the government enacted the Children's Law 2012 revision, which places greater accountability on all to protect our children. The Children's Law 2012 revision requires mandatory reporting of suspected and/or alleged child protection concerns. Whilst the law specifies the individuals who are mandated to report abuse of children, the community at large must also take ownership in reporting such matters when they are aware of these horrific acts. It is extremely important for organizations who work with children to have proper child safeguarding policies and practices in place. Providing education and training will mean that persons who interact or work with children are knowledgeable of these procedures and act in the best interests of the children entrusted in their care. The Department of Children and Family Services is fully committed to protecting the well-being of all the children and young people within the Cayman Islands. As a department, our purpose is to create a greater awareness in the community on protecting our children, while creating a safe and healthy environment in which they can reach their full potential. We encourage all citizens of these islands to be committed at all times to ensuring the safety and welfare of all children.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Woody DeCosta. I'm the moderator today for the Department of Children and Family Services panel discussion for Child Month, which is on child protection. In front of us, we have an esteemed panel of students from the various high schools throughout the Cayman Islands. What I'm going to do right now is just ask each one of them to simply say their name, their high school, their age, and the year that they're in. Good morning, panel. Good afternoon, panel.
Hello, my name is Dylan Tatum. I go to Lehman Scott High School in Cayman Brac. I'm a year 9. I'm 13 years old.
Hi, my name is Akeli. I'm 17 years old. I attend John Gray High School.
Hello, my name is Nathan Peterson. I am 17 years old. I go to SciFic and I'm in grade 12.
Hi, I'm Mikey Ebanks from Western Christian Academy in West Bay. I'm 16 years old and I'm in year 11.
My name is Zaria Linwood. I attend Hope Academy. I'm in grade 10, year 11, and I am 16 years old.
And welcome again, panel. I'm going to start with no really particular order, but I'm going to start with Mr. Tatum first. Mr. Tatum, what is child protection?
In my opinion, child protection is basically like the process in which adults take to protect children. And so everything that an adult does basically is child protection once they're trying to help or assist a child.
Thank you. Ms. Brown?
I believe that child protection refers to the safety of children from neglect, exploitation, and abuse.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes, sir. I think child protection is basically taking action for establishing rights for children.
Ms. Ebanks?
I believe child protection is protection of a child from being harmed, endangered, or from violence.
Agreeing with everyone, I believe that child protection is the approach that we use to help kids in need.
Brilliant. Ms. Linwood, I'm going to start off with you with this particular question. Who is responsible for child protection?
I think that any witness of a child being mistreated is responsible for child protection because they can do something about it. So if you're able to do something about it, I think that you should.
Excellent. Ms. Ebanks?
I believe everyone is responsible for child protection because I believe that nobody deserves to be harmed or being witnessed or someone witnessing a child being harmed. I believe that everyone has a future and shouldn't look back on their past couple of ages or years and see regrets.
Mr. Peterson?
I think any and everyone can resolve a problem regarding child protection. And I agree with what she said as well.
Ms. Brown?
Even though the Child and Family Agency, they're the primary responsible organization to promote the awareness of child abuse, I believe that everyone in the society should take it as a responsibility and a role to look out for the children. Even though this statement might sound cliche or children are the future, I think we really need to look out for our children.
Excellent. Mr. Tatum?
Well, I agree with what everyone said. Yes, everyone is responsible for child protection because everyone has a voice. So if they see something happening, yes, they have the power to do something about it. So your teachers, parents, church, people who go to church with you, they all have a voice that they can talk and explain if something's wrong.
Excellent. Ms. Brown, I'm going to ask you this question, ma'am. Do you think that child protection is a cause for concern for the Cayman Islands?
I think it's a cause for concern, even though we don't have a lot of cases. In the future, there might be cases that we need to deal with. So starting from now and raising awareness to the public and how to deal with child abuse, what you should do and who you should go to, I think starting from now can help the society because we never know what will happen in the future. Even though it's not as bad as in other countries, we still need to take the responsibility to start putting it out there and what they should do.
Mr. Peterson?
We have other major problems, but childhood issues to do with, problems to do with children. I don't really see that as being dominant. So.
Okay. Ms. Ebanks?
I believe that we should actually look upon this because we are the next generation and we have a future ahead of us. So I believe that we should take a concern of it.
Excellent. Ms. Linwood?
I do believe that child protection is a cause for concern in the Cayman Islands. I don't think that it is necessarily overlooked, but I do believe that there are things that we could be doing to prevent it. For example, having meetings at schools so children know what to do. Actually, some children would see it and they don't even know that it's wrong. Therefore, I do think that it's really important that it is brought up in schools, and I think that would help a lot with the case.
Thank you very much. Mr. Tatum?
Yes, I do believe it is a cause for concern because whilst we may not hear a lot about different cases, that doesn't mean that those are the only cases that happen. We might hear about them and there might not be a lot, but people might see other cases and we just don't know about them. So I think we should look more into child protection.
Thank you. Ms. Ebanks, I'm going to start you off with this question. If you were a leader in the Cayman Islands today, I love that smile, how would you handle child protection?
First, I would support the law. There's a law that says about if you don't report abuse, thank you, you get fined $5,000 or you go jail or maybe both. I do agree with that. That we should make it aware to the public that it's not right because, as I said many times, we all have a future and we don't want to look back with regrets.
Ms. Linwood?
If I was a leader in the Cayman Islands, as I said before, I would make sure I would raise awareness, especially to the children, because a lot of the times, again, as I said before, they don't know that what is happening to them is wrong. So that would be the first step that I would take, is to raise awareness, especially in schools.
Ms. Brown?
I agree with her. I would raise awareness, but what I would really do is ensure that there is a rigid law that says once you know about the situation, you should report it. There is a law that states it, but it isn't really enforced because you have a lot of family members who know about the situation, but because of the embarrassment that yes, my family is being abused, they don't want to speak up. But I would definitely enforce that law that they should speak up.
Excellent. Mr. Peterson, do you have anything to add?
If I was a leader, I'd make sure to implement laws and rights for children.
All right. Mr. Tatum, if you were a leader of the Cayman Islands today.
Well, I agree with what everyone says. Yes, laws should be enforced, but I believe that if I'm a leader, I should have people who know exactly what's going on with the children. So I think if I was a leader, I'd have people put in place who would go to schools and talk to each student individually, or at least a couple students, to try and find out what's really happening and not like what people see and what people report. Like, try and find out what's really going on with the children.
Thank you all very much. Those were some good answers. Mr. Peterson, I'm going to start you off with this question. If you know of child abuse, what would you do? And what should you do? Or maybe what do you think others should do?
Well, if you know a child is being abused, you should contact the police. You could either go to the parents and try to talk to them, but they may retaliate. That's what I have to say.
Ms. Brown?
I think if we know about a situation, if we know that a child is going through abuse, that we should tell an adult that we can trust, and if that person, they don't go to the police or to the agency who is originally in charge of child abuse, you should take it your responsibility to ensure that the word is gone out.
Ms. Linwood?
In a lot of cases of child abuse, it is being done by the parents, so you can't really go to them about it because it's what they're doing is their decision. So I think if you're a kid, they might be afraid to go straight to the police, so I think they should approach a teacher or an elder in the community who they trust, as they said before. But if you are an adult and you're aware of the situation, then I think you should contact the police right away.
Ms. Ebanks?
I believe social services should be a hold of this also, and the police, because the police are like somewhere we go to when in need. And I believe social services is there to also help us if there's abuse going along. So I believe that we should tell someone that we trust and that we should also make a report about it.
Excellent. Mr. Tatum?
I agree with what everyone says. Yes, we should contact the police. But me personally, I would probably go to my parents. But honestly, I think we should just cut that out because the police are the ones who have the rights to go and deal with the situation. So I think if you're a child, you shouldn't be afraid to go to the police. So I think you should just go straight and go to the police. And if you're an adult, then yes, of course you should go to the police.
Thank you all very much. The age of consent, ladies and gentlemen, in the Cayman Islands is 16 years old. So I'm going to start this question off with Mr. Tatum. If your female friend, who is only 15 years old, is having sexual relations with a 19-year-old male, do you, sir, think that this is child abuse?
Yes, I think this is child abuse. First of all, this 15-year-old is still in school whilst having sexual relations with a 19-year-old who is considered to be an adult. So I think the 19-year-old is actually taking advantage of the 15-year-old. And if this 15-year-old were to get pregnant, it could probably lead into them failing school and not being able to graduate. So I think this is a form of sexual abuse.
Mr. Peterson, gonna ask you to follow up if you like.
Yes, sir. I believe that is really inappropriate because anything after 18 is considered as an adult. And if you have any relationship with anyone younger than that, that's like wrong. So I believe that is child abuse.
Excellent. Ms. Brown?
At the age of 15, a child isn't mentally developed as yet. A 19-year-old probably is mentally developed and more responsible. So I believe that that is child abuse because it's basically an adult having an affair with a child.
Thank you. Ms. Linwood?
In a lot of cases, this happens a lot because females tend to mature faster than males do. Therefore, it's not rare to see this situation. But at the end of the day, it is the law. So if you are breaking the law, then it is child abuse.
Thank you. Ms. Banks, last but not least.
Okay. There's nothing wrong getting your education first. I believe education is a very important part of your life. It leads to the future. I believe when you're 19, you're an adult. And like you shouldn't try to brainwash a little 15-year-old to date that person, to do sexual relations with that person. I believe that we should get our education first. There's nothing wrong with that.
Love those answers. I'm going to start this next one off with you, Ms. Brown. Do you think the age of sexual consent should be changed from 16?
I do believe that it should be changed because at the age of 16, you're still in high school. I'm still in high school and I'm 17. A child isn't mentally developed, isn't aware of the right decisions as yet. They aren't providing for themselves as yet. So I definitely think it should be changed to 18 years old, just like the other countries. Most countries, their age of consent is 18, and I believe that we should change that too.
Mr. Tatum?
I agree with what she said. And when a child is 16, they're still in high school, as she said. And if they were to get pregnant or to get someone pregnant if they're a male, that could mess up their education. And their education, that's one of the most important things in the world we're living in today. So I think it should be changed to 18 when the child is no longer a child and is now an adult.
Ms. Linwood?
I agree with those that the age limit should be changed to 18 for sexual consent because that is the drinking age, legal drinking age. So it just fits best that you reach this age and you become an adult. So everything flows greatly. So, but if you have, you can have sex at 16, but you can't drink until 18. So like you're growing up, but then you're still not allowed to do other things. So having 16 for that law is kind of pressuring them and like urging them to do other things that an adult would do. But you're honestly not allowed to do that until you're 18. So it just conflicts.
Ms. Banks?
I'd like to agree with everyone with the age should be changed to 18 because we're mentally growing. And by 18, we're an adult. As what they say, we could drink at 18. So I believe that we should have sexuals with other people I would say. Also, that it should be changed because people like 13-year-old consent age is 16. They're like living forward towards 16. Old consent ages now, because basically when you're 16, if your mother finds out that you got out the house, had sex, and if your mom tries to correct you, it's consent age. So I believe that it should be 18. And also, you could also wait till marriage, which is not a bad thing.
I second that one. Amen to that. We're going to take a quick break right now, and we're going to change some of our panelists out for the next round of questions. But I want to thank all of you very much. I've been very impressed with your answers. In fact, we may elaborate sometimes in the upcoming ones, I guess, that's coming up. But thank you all very much. You all done a fantastic job. And we're back, and I just want to thank all of you for coming back and tuning in with us. We got two new panelists on with us this afternoon, and I would like to start off by asking them to kindly introduce themselves to us. I'm going to start with you, my dear.
My name is Chanel Daniels. I'm 16 years old. I'm currently in year 10 and I attend Cayman Academy.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ariana Grant. I'm representing Clifton Hunter High School. I'm 16 years old and I'm in year 11.
Excellent. Well, welcome, ladies. Got a couple of questions I would like to ask you all. Ms. Grant, I'm going to start off with you. Do you think child protection is a cause for concern within the Cayman Islands?
I do not think child protection is a major cause for concern in the Cayman Islands, but a preventative is better than finding a cure. So I believe that we should definitely aim to try and prevent it from becoming a cause for concern rather than waiting for it to become that and then trying to fix that problem.
Thank you. Ms. Daniels?
I'd like to also add to that. Child protection isn't a big issue in the Cayman Islands, like child abuse, but there are many children who go to school in dirty uniforms and children who go to school without any lunch money. So that is also a form of child abuse.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Daniels, if you were leader, if you were premier of the Cayman Islands today, how would you handle child protection?
If I were responsible for child protection in the Cayman Islands, my first task would be to launch a nationwide public educational campaign. A lot of times things go unsaid or people just brush it under the mat, where there are many cases where people would report child abuse and no one would really look into it because they would say, oh, the kid is bad, or oh, it's normal, when it really isn't.
Thank you. Ms. Grant?
If I were a leader in the Cayman Islands, I would definitely bring awareness to this subject. I would raise this awareness by doing so in the schools, assemblies, or just we have mentors, so using our mentors to sit one-on-one or do group discussions with our children in the schools. That's how I would approach this.
Excellent. Ms. Grant, I'm going to ask you this question. If you know that child abuse is occurring, what should you do, or others around you?
I believe that once you know that child abuse is happening around you, if you're witness to that, that you should definitely report it, whether it be to the police, to someone in charge, could be your principal, your teachers, your pastor. Once you know it's happening, you should definitely go to someone of high authority and report this incident so that it could be dealt with in the right manner, rather than you probably taking it upon yourself to deal with the situation and it backfiring, something bad happening, making the situation worse.
Excellent. Ms. Daniels?
I would ensure that the child is okay. I would go to the child and ask them what is really going on behind this. And I would encourage the child to talk to someone that they trust. And I would take it upon myself to go to the social workers and let them know what is really going on so that they can look into it and have the child removed from the home.
Thank you. Ladies, the age of consent in the Cayman Islands is 16 years old. If you have a female friend who is 15 years old and is having sexual relations with a 19-year-old male, do you all think this is child abuse? Ms. Daniels, I'll ask you first.
Yes, I do think this is child abuse because the 15-year-old female is of underage and the consent age in the Cayman Islands is 16 years old. And in the law's eyes, the boy would be considered as an adult because he is over the age of 18.
Ms. Grant?
I agree with Chanel on that. I do believe that it is abuse. I also believe that once you see a 15-year-old girl with, or even if it was a boy, once they're involved in sexual relations with someone older above the law's consensual age, which as you said was 16, then it is rape, not only just abuse, and that it should be taken serious and taken to the police specifically.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies. Ms. Daniels, do you think the age of sexual consent should be increased or changed?
Yes, I do think this should be changed because at the age of 16, we aren't fully developed, and we would think that it's okay to have sexual relationships with someone older when it really isn't, because at the age of 16, most people are still in high school and you're still living with your parents. So, for example, what if a 16-year-old girl is having sexual relations with a 20-year-old guy and she gets pregnant? What would be the consequences? What would be dealt with that in the law's eyes?
Thank you. Ms. Grant?
I believe that it should be changed specifically to the age of 18, as said before, having 16 and 18 as two different age sets for different things that a child can do or an adult can do causes confliction in the minds of the children. At the same time that you're seen as an adult to have sexual relations, you're not seen as an adult to be able to drink or to go out on your own or to make your own living. And then you have to take it as the children aren't emotionally prepared to deal with what comes in having sexual relations, or physically prepared. Our body isn't completely developed at that age. Therefore, the age should be increased to 18 where we are sure that we are fully developed.
Thank you very much. We're going to kind of switch gears a little bit, and we're going to be talking about corporal punishment. While corporal punishment is still culturally a form of discipline used within the Cayman Islands, the Department of Children and Family Services encourages other forms of discipline for children. You must note that. Mr. Tatum, I'm going to ask you, if your friend gets beaten regularly because he always behaves badly and the beating leaves marks on his person, do you think this is okay?
No, I don't think this is okay. It's okay to beat your child, but in my opinion, it's okay to beat your child. But to the point where you're breaking their skin, you're leaving marks, I think you're taking it too far because you're causing them serious pain. You're more than disciplining them, you're actually hurting them. So, yeah.
Ms. Daniels, would you like the question reaxed, or you're fine with that one?
I'm fine with that one.
Would you like to answer it?
Okay. I think discipline boils down to what works best for the child, because some children respond to beatings while others don't. So if you know that you have a child who's always being bad, maybe you should try something different. If the beatings aren't working, you should say, okay, hey, if you do this again, you're going to get your phone taken away, or you're going to get your games taken away. Sit down with that child and explain to the child what he did or what she did was wrong and why you're giving them this punishment.
Mr. Peterson?
I agree with what Mr. Tatum said. You can beat your child if they do something wrong, but to the point where you leave marks on them, That's not right. You can also, well, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Ms. Grant.
I believe that there's a thin line between punishment and abuse. When you break that thin line, it's punishment is when you're trying to enforce in your child what's right and what's wrong. But abuse is when you make that child afraid of you. I believe that once it has reached into that point, the breaking of the skin, they're scared to come and talk to you, they're scared to just approach you. Yes, it is abuse once it's reached beyond that point.
Ms. Linwood.
I agree with what Ms. Daniel said, that there are different approaches to the situation, but with the example you gave me, it says, if my friend gets beaten regularly because he always behaves badly and the beatings leave marks on this child, is this okay? No. If it says that he gets beaten regularly, but he's still behaving badly, so that obviously means that he's not reacting to the beatings the way that the parents want them to. This means that this should show them that there are different ways that they need to approach the situation, because they're beating him because he's behaving badly. But if that's not working, then they obviously need to approach the situation differently. And in many cases, because the child is getting beaten, it instills violence in them.
Thank you very much. Ms. Peterson, I'm going to start this question off with you, sir. Do you consider is reasonable chastisement, discipline, should this be physical?
It doesn't have to be physical, no. You can also ground your child. You could punish them, as in, you could ground them as in take away their phone, their laptop. They're not able to go outside to play with their friends at times. But physical discipline isn't always required.
Thank you. Ms. Daniels?
You can sit down with your child and explain to them what they did was wrong. You can also take away their privileges. No TV time, no phones, no games, no hanging out with your friends, so that they can learn from it, so that they know, okay, hey, if I do this again, I won't have my phone, or I won't be able to hang with my friends this weekend, so that they will think twice about what they're going to do before they do it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Tatum?
I agree with what my peers have said. Yes, while you're trying to punish your child or discipline your child, there are different children react in different ways, but it doesn't always have to be physical. You can talk to your child and try to explain to them, and like as my colleague has said. So what I think is reasonable punishment is basically sitting them down, trying to explain to them, taking away their privileges, and if necessary, beat them, but not to the point where you're hurting them or breaking their skin or causing any bruises or anything like that.
Thank you. Ms. Linwood?
Agreeing with what everyone says, every child is interested in different things. Therefore, there's many different ways that you could punish them. And another point I'd like to bring up is that everything you do, you have to think before you do it. So, talking is really, really important. A lot of the times, teachers or wherever they're getting in trouble will go to the parents, say what happened, and the parents just beat them or take away something without listening to what the child has to say. So because of this, they might continue to do what they're doing for attention until the parents actually, sit down and have a conversation with them.
Thank you. Ms. Grant?
As mentioned before, children do respond to different discipline forms, and I believe that if one discipline form isn't working on a child, then you should definitely switch. You shouldn't necessarily feel like you have to resort to physical, as I said, it doesn't necessarily work on that particular child.
Thank you. I'll start this question off with Ms. Grant. Who do you think you should trust? How should they behave towards you? And I would like you to list some behaviors they should not do.
I believe trust is something very valuable. It's like a piece of paper. Once you crumple it, it can never be perfect again. And it's something that is earned. So who I may trust is not someone that you may trust. And it's something that is just particular to the person themselves. I have a strong trust in my mother because she's always there for me and she takes care of me. I believe that some behaviors that they should not do, it would be to take advantage of that trust, first of all, because as I said, once you take advantage of that or you mistreat that, it's never going to be the same. You will look towards people differently. You won't be able to trust differently, which is where sometimes we have violence in our children because of this mistrust amongst one adult or one member in the society, and it causes us to have that mistrust for everyone.
Thank you. Ms. Linwood?
We spend 9 hours a day at school with teachers, and the rest of the time we spend with our parents and peers. So I believe that if I have a problem, I should be able to trust my parents as well as my teachers. I believe what happens in school sometimes is that yes, the teachers have the authority, but children might not feel comfortable going to them because in the manner they talk to them, the way they treat them, a lot of the times teachers don't listen and it's just whatever they say. So that's what makes children uncomfortable going to them, and it may be the same situation with the parents as well. So I believe that teachers and parents should not be ignoring the children and listening to them and hearing their thoughts so they know the right approach to situations, to how they feel about things and how they can help them and fix things.
Thank you. Mr. Peterson?
I believe that you could trust anyone, but you should trust like church members, the counselor, someone that you normally bond with, someone that is well, not everyone you could trust, but people who you see that commit to you, that want to help you, who can make an effect in your life and stuff like that. You should go to them, or they could normally come to you and try to resolve the problems that are going on and stuff.
So anyone who's doing anything positive in your life?
Anyone, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Mr. Tatum?
Well, first of all, I think each child should be able to trust their parents, but I know a lot of times that's not the case. But every child should have someone who they can trust, and as one of my colleagues has said, each child has someone different who they can trust. And when you find that someone who you trust, they should be someone who, like, you know them very well, and how that person should act towards you. They should treat you with respect your boundaries such as privacy, stuff like that. And I believe that they should never try any sexual interactions with you. They should be very caring towards you, and they should try and think about helping you most of the time.
Excellent. Ms. Daniels?
I personally believe that trust is something that is earned and not an entitlement based on who a person is. For me, I trust my mom, and when you trust someone, it should be someone who you look up to in a positive way, someone who will uplift you and not bring you down, someone who is law-abiding and has good morals.
Thank you. I'm going to start this question off with Ms. Linwood. What child protection matters are caused by using social media? And in your opinion, how should this be handled?
In many cases, and I've seen this because I have many friends, many acquaintances, so a lot of the time an easy outlet for child predators is by seeing them on social media and messaging them, talking to them, and basically luring them into their little lair. So that is a really easy outlet for them to get what they want. So I think that social media is helping, is just adding flame to that fire. I think that it should be handled by, again, going to schools, raising awareness as to what can happen by using social media inappropriately, for example, adding people on Facebook that you don't know, and things like that.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes, sir.
would you like me to repeat the question to you?
No, sir.
Okay.
I believe that you have a lot of that there's a lot of child predators and pedophiles on the social media. I believe the term is they use it as catfish, and that basically is someone not being true about themselves. They're just making up a I know someone can help me out here. You know what catfish is?
Yeah, a lie.
A lie. Yeah. Lying about their identity.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it. I also believe that children shouldn't have social media accounts and stuff like that.
I'm going to ask you a question a little outside the remit. Do you think there should be a certain age limit that children should be allowed to have a social account? Like how
Yes.
you all were talking about age of consent?
Yes, sir, because I see there are some 13, 14-year-olds who have Facebook accounts. And they are exposed to a lot of different things on the internet. But yeah, there should be an age limit.
All right, thank you. I'm going to ask Ms. Daniels. Would you like me to repeat the question, ma'am?
No, thank you. There are a number of child protection matters that are caused by social media. These include cyberbullying, being exposed to pedophiles posing as other children, among others. I believe that parents, while allowing their children some level of freedom with social media, should monitor what their child use very carefully and sit down with them and have a talk and let them know the dangers of social media, so that when they do go online or when they do sign up for something, they know the do's and don'ts.
Thank you. Mr. Tatum?
To agree with what everyone said, yes, I believe that using social media sites causes catfishes, which is basically what he said, people lying about their identity. So you have these 16-year-old people who think they have a relationship with someone who's their age, and then they actually find out that it's this older person. And I like the idea about the age limit for the different sites. That way, like, you don't have young children being exposed to certain things that they shouldn't be getting exposed to.
Last but certainly not least, Ms. Grant.
As we said, child protection is the safety of our children and allowing them to keep their rights as children, as human beings. And in having those rights, they have the right to express themselves. And I feel like social media is one of those outlets for them to express themselves. And we should not take that completely away from them. But as said from my other panelists, we should have restrictions. There are actual restrictions that where our parents can monitor what we do on these sites. You can have sites blocked on the internet, on your phones, and that allows your parents to be, or your adult supervisor, to be aware of what you're doing and not track, but just to supervise exactly what's going on and who you may be talking to that may not truly be themselves.
Great. Well, I want to thank all of you for a wonderful afternoon and for being candid and participating in this first ever panel discussion on child protection. And as you all well know, this is Child Month, and I just want to wish all of you the very best for your futures. Always continue thinking ahead, thinking brightly as you do, and making sure that education is going to be the cornerstone of your life, because they can take everything else away from you, but they can't take away your education. Knowledge is power, and knowledge is the greatest equalizer in the world. And I want to thank you guys for expressing from your age demographic how you all feel about these very pertinent questions the society has been grappling with for decades upon decades. And one day I hope to see one of you, if not all of you, representing these fair, beautiful Cayman Islands someday in Parliament. So thank you all very much for your participation.